Typically, with each first impression that I give with each season, it's usually easy to kind of get an idea of what the writer plans to do with the series, or at least the tone being set for it within about 2 to 3 episodes. And Orient was a series that, honestly, after the second episode, I need a third. And I think even with the third, I need a fourth. I need to get an idea of exactly what it is this show is going to feel like as it goes along. But this is my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Orient, a show that's airing in the winter 2022 anime season. So let's jump into it. Orient opens up in the area of Hinamoto, and Hinamoto unfortunately has been taken over by Oni. Oni suddenly appeared 150 years prior and basically took over the land, wiping out all the lores that stood up against them, until eventually where all mankind has pretty much been put under the rule of the Oni. These great Kishi were just unstoppable, and nobody could stand up against them. And as we open up, we're following Musashi, who is one of these residents that is living under the rule of the Oni. And it gives us this perspective that the Oni have pretty much ruled under propaganda. All the humans that are being raised are being taught that these Bushi who once stood up against the Oni are terrible. They're bad people that once just kind of kept them in this warring state. And so they're the bad people in this perspective. And anybody that's like a descendant of the Bushi have to carry their sword with them as punishment, and everybody mocks them because these are the humans that were causing this conflict, and the Oni just want to take care of the humans. Well, Musashi was kind of taught at some point by Kojiro's father that that's not really the case, that the Bushi once stood up against the Oni in order to free the humans. So as they're growing up, they're kind of training themselves until eventually at one point Musashi realized, you know what, I'm done. I'm done being a miner, which apparently there's most of the humans, as they raise up, some of them become miners who just mine up ore for the Oni. At some point he realized, I'm done with this. I'm done being a miner. I'm going to fight. I'm going to become a Bushi, and I'm going to fight these Onis. Well, as he gets to his graduation point of being a miner, he's taken up into this upper area where they end up finding out that there's a bunch of Oni up there that are just feeding off the humans and forcing them to break ore for them to consume. And this is the point in which Musashi springs into action, forgetting that he doesn't have his weapon with him. Kojiro, his friend, shows up with his weapon and they start fighting against the Oni, until eventually a Kishin actually shows up, which is one of these very powerful Oni, and they have to fight up against them, and it's not looking too well. Well, eventually a big band of Bushi show up, and they rescue Musashi and Kojiro and start fighting against this Kishin. Well, after Musashi gets a little upset because this is his first mark. This Kishin is the mark of his first big Oni that he's going to take down. It's his treasure. But despite this, he's not able to defeat it, and this band of Bushi end up defeating it. And following this whole ordeal, we get this little perspective of Musashi being a little upset because obviously this band of Bushi just beat him to his mark, but he also realized that this band of Bushi are trying to do exactly what these old scrolls said, which is to eventually raise up against the Onis and eventually gain these sacred treasures that will help them fight off the Oni until they can eventually bring the lands of Hinamoto back together. And so thus begins the journey of Musashi with his friend Kojiro as they set out into the world to find more of these Onis and these Kenshin. I think they mentioned that there's 100 of these Kenshin that they have to fight. So my thoughts on Orient. I know that obviously the big draw to this series is going to be its creator. Its creator is the one that actually created Magi. It's a series that I had personally never watched. It's a series that I've been wanting to watch for a long time. It's a series that my brother has watched, and he said a lot of great things about it, but I never got around to it. And so I had high expectations for this particular series, knowing that Magi has a good following. But as I mentioned earlier, I really feel like so far Orient has been a slow burn. I mean, even with 3 episodes, I just really don't feel like I got a sense of this writer's potential. It really does feel like these first 3 episodes is just a setup to really give you an idea of this world, what the humans are kind of dealing with, and eventually Musashi's mindset. His mindset of, I want to be this great Bushi, but at the same time, I'm not strong. I also found it really interesting, and I almost got really frustrated with this character at the same time, is they had the main character Musashi, when he goes for his first prize Kishin kill, he gets angry that these other Bushi show up and we're gonna defeat it. And it gives a stupid, goofy perspective that he's angry because this was his mark. Like, he claims it, and there's this other band that's gonna take it from him. So what he does, essentially, is use his pickaxe to knock down this entire cliff just to cause a landslide onto these soldiers so that it messes them up and so he can get in there and get a kill. And I'm like, one, you could have killed all these people. I mean, he's lucky that this captain came in and finished off the Kenshin. But it's that kind of selfishness that I guess you have in a character, which, yes, in effect, having a main character with a flaw such as jealousy and hatred for people taking his mark, that selfishness that essentially drives him, but at the same time, it's like, he could have killed a lot of people, and it never really kind of addresses that. But other than the fact that the captain's kind of like, this guy's a hot-headed, he's gonna be, he's something in the future. He does technically kind of embrace it rather than kind of fight back against it, but it does make you kind of go, dude, you could have got a bunch of people killed, and we're not gonna address that? It was weird, but at the same time, technically interesting and technically a flawed main character. I can give the writer some respect for that kind of stuff. Equally, if not more, a lot of emphasis on Kojiro, who is one of these people that essentially has been deemed a Bushi before because of his lineage, and the kind of crap that he's dealt with in the past, being kind of spit on by even the humans themselves, deeming that the Bushi are these terrible people that have pretty much caused this conflict, not the Oni. But even still, not really having anything in here that's really grabbed me so far. It just feels like standard shonen fare. It doesn't really have anything like character personalities that are really grabbing me so far. But even still, I think if you're looking for that shonen travel to take down all the bad guys kind of setup, it's this very standard fare for that, and I think it matches that. So if you're looking for probably the next big shonen that'll be, take down the next one, it might be here. This is only kind of scheduled for about 12 episodes, so I don't see this being something like a One Piece or Naruto that's going to be an ongoing. It could end up being that, but I think you're probably going to get something similar to probably what Magi was. But I think one of the more unfortunate things for this series being done by ACGT is that this isn't a very good looking show. And in the wake of so many other shonens that are popping up right now that have these insane amounts of production value, this is one that's really struggling. This is kind of like going back to your old school shonens where the animation isn't really their top priority. It's more kind of turning out a lot of episodes and just making it look good enough. Despite that, I do like a lot of the character designs. They're very unique. Yeah, technically, Musashi's got the whole red hair, gun-ho personality. It definitely does fit more in the style of Magi, which I personally do love. And there's a lot of unique character designs, especially when it comes to a lot of the other Bushi, including Shunrai, who is this girl who's basically got like a whole side of her chest is completely scarred. And so you kind of get an idea of what technically has been removed. It's just those interesting takes on character designs that I'm actually interested in. So yeah, while the characters themselves and the animation are not really grabbing me so far, I do love a lot of concepts that they have here. I do like the setup, the propaganda aspect that the Oni have essentially taken over. And so the idea of humans fighting against the Oni kind of deems the people who are supposed to be the saviors as being the bad guys. Additionally, an interesting take on the main character using a pickaxe rather than a sword or something like that. I think it turns into a sword at some point, but for now it's just a pickaxe. And a lot of technology seems to be kind of centered around motorcycles, which is kind of weird as well. I don't know if that it's indicating that 150 years prior, it was our modern times, so that would explain why there's motorcycles, or if just motorcycles for some reason are in this world as a sacred artifact or something. But we'll see. Like I said, nothing really grabbing me, but at the same time, there is some interesting elements in there, some potential for a future series, but I'll be definitely keeping an eye on it. Like I said before, I did want to get into Magi, so this is kind of my why not right now while it's still airing. If anything definitely pops up and grabs me, I'll definitely let you guys know, but for now, that's my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Orient. If any of that sounds into you, definitely check it out and let me know down in the comments down below what you're thinking about it. Subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon, or throw a tips link in the description below. Definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.